There's always Clubhouse talking about NFT mental health.
What the
You're
hell? That's
think
a
about it this way.
2021 term right there.
But
Holy
think about it
shit.
this way. You are having 2 months of your time making an artwork that is so close to you and you have emotional connection to. You toss it on one of the platforms, hoping it's gonna sell, and no one buys it. That's like you putting a piece of your emotion, your experience, your heart to this void and no one hears it. Like that's not a good feeling.
Are you the kind of guy with like a nice setup? You got like the desk, that stand, like that remote control desk, triple monitors, RGB lights behind the monitor.
I do have two monitors. Like just one that's vertical right here.
That's a streamer monitor right there.
Yeah, I see
That's
the
the stream.
I see those on stream all the time.
The vertical ones,
The vertical ones, yeah.
I think they're just good to like if there's like chats, Twitters, feeds, or whatever. It's just nice to scroll at. And for rendering like Cinema 4D and stuff, you can just put the viewport right there, and then you got the whole vertical display, which is nice.
Right. I love
Mhm.
that.
What do you guys do?
We graduated from like Ryerson for sport media. This was last April,
Yeah.
and during school we were both like free. He was a freelance graphic designer, but also worked at TSN, and I was a freelance like videographer. So I just worked for like a bunch of small businesses, organizations, just like all over the place stuff, and it was
Yeah.
good. We were both doing that a lot, and then the
And you said you guys graduated. Was it what was it that you guys graduated?
2020. So we graduated
2020.
right into the pandemic.
The best
Yo.
graduation gift ever.
Oh, same
Yeah.
here. I graduated the same year as you guys. It was last year.
What school?
Western Ontario.
Did you do MIT?
Yeah, I
I'm
did.
assuming,
I
yeah.
did. What? How'd you just guess that? Like, what,
Because
what?
it's
We
the
just
media.
figured it was a lucky guess.
It's the well. Why don't we just jump into it? So you graduated from Western, you did MIT,
Yeah.
which I just guessed because I actually got accepted there like years back, and I decided,
Oh,
nah, I'd rather stay in the city. Like I don't want to
wait.
go away.
So what made you change from the media program to the sports program?
Right? Because I mean, I was like, I applied at Ryerson for the general media program, which was my like number one goal, and I also did the sports because I played sports my whole life. I like sports. I didn't get into the regular media, so I thought I'll just go to sport media. I don't want to go away for school. Like I just don't want to like take on the debt. I'd rather just spend less money for school, be in the city. And it ended up working out well, but what made you decide Western over, let's say, like a college or like a Ryerson type university
That's
experience?
funny because I actually enrolled in Ryerson's program as well, but Ryerson got to me too fast. Like I got accepted right away, so I was like, if they were accepting right away, should I just wait for a bit to see other like opportunities? And then when Western accepted me, I was like, okay, I'll go for that. And at that time, mostly I'm going to West. I was going to Western because of the fact that it's a party school. I know it's kind of dumb thinking back at it, but
I love the
when
honesty.
Yeah, we like the honesty. It's true. I mean, it's a fun. I visited a few times. It gets crazy.
Yeah, for sure. Only the first year. I swear, like afterwards, just things just get it's all the same. So I definitely think there's a better campus experience if you are away from the city instead of going to Ryerson or University of Toronto. You're literally in the city, so it doesn't seem like it's this bubble of college kids. If that
Right.
makes sense.
I wanted to jump in quickly. Will, I think you made the right choice. I think Western would have eat you up and spit you out. So
You
good
are.
idea, man.
I don't think I would have made it through that first year. I may have dropped out. Wouldn't have been good.
It's funny because there were a lot of people in my program that was dropping out from MIT to Ryerson.
Right.
So I think maybe it just the grass is always greener on the other side. So you look at it, you're like Western does seem like a pretty good opportunity back in the days, but the fact that you're in Ryerson, you might I don't know. I'm just making random assumptions here, but
Well, one thing that drew me to Ryerson was like it's very practical. Like there's
yes,
a lot
that's what
more hands on,
yeah.
and I felt like I just wanted to not only stay in the city because I'm gonna be more focused, spending less money on school because obviously just the situation,
Mm.
and I just want to like learn through like my hands more and not be at like a traditional university because Ryerson's kind of like it like rides that line between college and university. It's not it's a strange experience,
That's what I
but
heard too.
yeah, and I just wanted to like stay in the city. I like Toronto,
Yeah.
and I agree. Like you don't get that campus experience, that campus culture, that like team culture. Everyone's like a commuter, but I think that lended well to me because I'm kind of like all over the place and I can get drawn and distracted easily. It lended me to be like really focused through the 4 years where like I was able to build up a freelance like career while at school. Right.
Right.
So I was like working full time while at school. I don't think I would have been able to do that if I was at a college town because I just would have been like, where are the boys? Or they're all in the frat house or this house or
Yeah.
this apartment building. Like, that's just who I am, but
It would have been a
work
nightmare.
for you.
Let's
It
call
would
it
have
for
been a
what it is.
nightmare.
It would have been a nightmare.
So
But
you
like,
definitely made a good decision.
for personal decision. But I want to talk about like MIT because it's media information
Right.
technoculture or
Yeah.
technoculture
Technoculture, you got it. Yeah.
technoculture. So like, what the hell did you learn? What's going on with that program?
Well, in short, nothing. No, just kidding. I actually learned a lot in terms of like critical thinking and the whole media landscape in general. It's more theory based. Like I write paper every week. Oh man. And you're right about the hands-on experience. There was none. There's pretty much none. I wouldn't say there's like literally minimal, but there's graphic design, and that was pretty hands-on. And we also had video production and photography, but you can only choose that in, let's say, was it third year or second year? Yeah, you had to finish all the criterias first before you can enroll. And I think the most I got out of it is just an understanding of how the social media landscape operate. And it's more of a critical side, it's more like what social media is affect how is it affecting us, and how is technology affecting us as a society. More of that, I guess.
I think that's so interesting considering what you're doing now, because that couldn't be further from that kind of classic academic model. Like you are the first kind of crypto art guy that we brought on the
That's funny.
podcast. So not only do you have the best mic, but you're also the crypto guy. You got some big shoes to fill.
No, that's some high expectations here, but I'm glad you mentioned the whole crypto, like the blockchain thing. I learned it at school too, and
Really?
I did a more about Bitcoin and money laundering, I guess. But the creative side comes later after I started learning this opportunity. And this whole time I graduated, my whole mindset is, oh yeah, the current tech giants are just, it's very, their whole business model is very, what's the word I'm looking for? Exploitative.
Yeah, they're rent seekers. They
Yeah,
they they take other people's content and they make
yeah.
millions of dollars off it.
Exactly. And they claim everything you do on their, software or whatever interface is free, but in reality they're, data mining. They're collecting your privacy, and there's no privacy if you're using these platforms. So after I heard about this whole NFT thing, I was like, whoa, shit, this is revolutionary. I was late too. I was actually late on the NFT art side, and it's been around for a while. Yeah, and the guys has just exploded in popularity. That's how people started hearing it.
Yeah, I know. Found out about it from like Clubhouse. I'd just be in random rooms listening to people, and there's this one kid, his 18-year-old. I forget his name. Fuck, but I sent it to you. Mose. I'll find it in the DMs. But like this kid is 18, digital artist, and he made a 1-for-1, and he sold it for like 200 grand. And I heard this guy talking about it on Clubhouse. This was maybe 2 months ago. Is that when you kind of found out about NFTs? Was it 2 months ago, or was it maybe a little bit earlier?
It was actually it was a lot earlier, but I didn't take any actions. And when I actually started trying to find an invite for foundation and trying to get into these platforms, that was 2 months ago exactly.
Were you doing Cinema 4D prior to this on like a high level, and then you just kind of like what's the word, transitioned in, like how it was kind of natural for you? Like, can you walk us through like just the animating space you went
Yeah.
from beginning to end?
So At the start, I started with videos for sure, and I started just doing videos in high school. But that was when I realized my composition was just so ass. I was like, okay, maybe it's too big of a step going jumping straight to video. So I scaled back to photos, and I was trying to learn about all these basics, so I know that I'm confident in videos. And after I started doing videos, it got into editing, and then from editing videos, it got into animation, and I started using like After Effects and stuff. That was the effects side is always what I was interested in. And I also learned, I went to this career training program when I was in China for a summer, and that was like a 3-month program. You learn product advertising and design. So that was a joint software learning experience from After Effects to Cinema 4D. I skipped a lot of the Cinema 4D side of it because I wasn't interested at all, but I didn't realize that later that will be my pretty much my full-time, career. So it's kind of interesting how it just comes back to me.
And that was the kickstart. How long was that? Did that program last? Was that a summer or?
Yeah, the program was supposed to be I think the full length was 5 months, and I joined halfway just because I was in Canada. I couldn't, do the full way, and I graduated early. So in total, it's like a month and a half of like 9 to 5. It was, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
It's crazy. So looking at um, Western and like your peers, like how many of them have taken the approach you've taken in the media landscape? Like, do you still like talk to some of your alumni? Are they kind of in the same space?
For sure. There's only one person that I'm close with who are doing, I guess, the same thing in terms of graphic design, videography, and media production in general. But the rest, not really. I don't see that many people being on the practical side. They're more in advertising, I would assume, or social media management, and these side of things.
That's interesting because I think we look at Mose, we look at Ryerson, a lot of these guys, we know tons of people trying to do the freelance thing, media production thing, whether it's for a firm or on their own. So I wonder if
Interesting.
that lends itself to the practicality of our program versus like more theory base of the Western. But what were you
For
gonna say,
sure.
Mose?
Well, I was gonna ask because maybe you've mentioned this and I just zoned out and wasn't listening. But are you doing crypto art full time, or are you also splitting that with client work and doing service stuff?
It's definitely half and half right now. I try
Okay.
to do as much NFT as possible because at the end of the day, it's your personal projects. It's your full creative control. You get to, do whatever you want and you get to sell it. And my rate for the NFT is already higher than my client work. So it doesn't seem
Right.
like it makes sense that I don't, jump into NFT more. But I would rather consider it to be a separate economy. That's what my friend Joseph, he's like the media director for Excision. Like I was on a phone call with him talking about NFT and stuff, and so that's what he was suggesting. Like treating it as two separate system doesn't mean that your NFT is high. Doesn't mean if your NFT is selling for a higher price, it doesn't mean that it has to transition back to your client work because client's budget is still there.
Right.
So that's how I'm treating it right now, and it's been working out pretty well.
Well, also, how many people like liquefy their cryptocurrency, right? Most people
Ooh,
are playing the game like this will eventually become like the world's like currency reserve. I want to wait until, real money gets faded out and this becomes real. Like most people aren't selling Bitcoin to like live a life off of it unless maybe you're
for
doing that.
sure.
I don't know, but it probably makes sense to like have two different
Invest. Yeah,
spaces cuz like one's more of an investment for the future where you can liquefy if you're in trouble and the other one's just like cash flow for day-to-day expenses
a
month to
hundred
month.
percent, 100%. That's exactly what I'm doing. I'm treating it more as more of an asset because I really don't think it's gonna die like NFT. The technology's there. It's not gonna go anywhere. The hype might die, but if you're established in the space, you're gonna stay relevant. That's how I'm seeing it. So I definitely agree.
Okay, so could you walk us through what's like the week to week work like doing making NFTs? and then like putting them out there on the different platforms? Like, are you, drawing in a notebook, coming up with concept art? Are you maybe reaching out to other people who like want an NFT for their brand? Like, what's your process going through that, making the
I,
NFTs?
I haven't been working with brands on NFT just because I think the split is already it's kind of tricky because if you're doing a 50-50 split with a company, um, how do you know how much it's gonna sell for? There's no guarantee. The same way it's working with a musician or an artist. If they are not in the crypto space, then doesn't mean it's my reputation that we're relying on. If I'm selling my stuff for 1 ETH per, if my average price is 1 ETH, which is 1 ETH right now, doesn't mean if you're just starting out and I'm collaborating with you, I take more percentage. Like how is it gonna work?
Right. That's a really interesting conversation. I think with the NFTs, at least something that I've noticed is that people that already had an audience, and I guess this is a bit different from your story, but the people that already had an audience and had that built in, I saw them like Jack. Do you follow Visualize Value? Do you know who that is? Right. And he's been, I think he had an NFT yesterday that he obviously the situation in India is terrible right now. And same day released an NFT, built it in the same day. And like immediately, I think it sold for like 12 ETH. And I was like, this is crazy. And that's all in getting back to the point. That was all on the back of him having, I would bet it's close to 500,000 followers across all of his social platforms. So like how do you see that kind of audience or reputation piece playing in? Like as you create more NFTs, you're just going to accrue, I guess, more value just by virtue of having more people see your work. Do you see that being a big part of NFTs and this kind of crypto art movement moving forward?
It's definitely a big part, and people. I mean, established artists are gonna have more portion of the food. That's just how it's always worked. There's has been a hierarchy, and it's gonna stay there.
Right.
But at the same time, I think smaller artists like myself, who doesn't have any social presence, can actually have a chance as well if you market yourself properly. Because even if you're, let's say, visualize value, his stuff might not convert because most of his audience are on Instagram, and people on
Right.
Instagram have no clue what NFT art is. So I think for someone like that, like a medium sized artist, to NFT is like to the NFT space, he's more like a blank sheet.
Right.
No collectors would know who that is. No investors would be recognize him off the bat.
Right. I want to go back to the split for a second. So the 50-50 split, if you're working for a brand, in my mind, doesn't make a ton of sense. When you sell an NFT, how much does the platform take? What does that split look like?
15%. Usually it's 15%.
15? Okay.
Yeah.
Really? That almost seems high. Like, why would, do they justify why it costs that much? Out of
No,
curiosity.
I don't think so. There's just operation costs. I feel like it's kind of default in everyone's mind that the platform has to survive, so you can survive as well. So
Right.
that if you're giving out 15%, seems reasonable. I don't know.
Makes more sense in that like social 1.0 kind of world, but I guess the ironic piece of that is that crypto is all about decentralization. So
Decentralizing.
you have this person taking 15%. I want to
Yeah.
talk about, I have two questions. First is how many pieces have you minted so far? And then after that, like are they all 3D? Are they moving? Like if you could just break down quickly like what is it, concept art? I'm just curious because I've only seen one piece.
I've had if I can, do you think I can share my screen by
Yeah,
any
for
chance?
sure.
So um there's this website called Showtime. That's like a newer website, I guess. It's more like a social media platform, but it showcases all the artwork that you minted and
Ooh.
owned.
This
Showtime.
kind of goes back to that reputation piece because people can just like look at the gal. I think that's one of the weird parts about the platform in my mind as well. It's like the platform is for selling stuff, but there's no like curation or discovery, which I've always found
Yeah,
kind of weird.
that is definitely one of the biggest challenge that NFT is going through if there's no if you can't exhibit your art, you can't display your art, what's the point of buying it? That's what a lot of people's complain. So
Boom.
this is the um, platform, and these are the
Showtime.
artwork I've minted. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Wow.
There should be one more, but yeah, maybe nine artwork. Yeah.
And are these all on the same platform, or have
No,
you used multiple platforms? I see
I do
Foundation.
use, yeah, Foundation is the major one just because the interface of it, oh man, just so nice, you know? This is just,
Now there's VV,
yeah,
the
that is
boy.
him. I love his stuff too. I've been following him since he had like less than 5,000 followers.
Yeah.
I mostly use Foundation. I still have one artwork that hasn't been sold yet, and I also use crypto art dot not io, sorry, AI. They're
Most
working on
expensive.
they're working on their what's it called? They're working on their UI right now. And the special thing about this is it's the biggest NFT platform in Asia.
Okay.
That's why I'm also banking on it. I think that the collectors in China are it's more disconnected, I guess, from the the rest of the social media. So that's why um I'm just branching two ways, in
Right.
China and outside of it. I
I love
guess
that.
good way to look at it.
So I want to go back to the unlimited blade. Is it Warts or Works? Because when I
Works.
Google search this, there is an anime called Unlimited Blade Works.
Yeah, that's
So
what.
is this a play on that? Because I thought
Yeah.
maybe you did a deal with them or something.
No. Oh no, 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 no. I wish. Because they're that anime is old too. They've been around for a while, but
Yeah.
they're really reputable for their visual effects. Yeah, that just inspired, I guess. It's more like fan art. And a lot of the stuff that I have on Foundation is fan art as well. See, the one thing that I know that I think that if I were knowing it sooner is that for each platform, it will be nice to have a different type of artwork. So if I'm doing fan art and I stick with Foundation, that's what I'm only gonna post on Foundation. And if on crypto art AI, if I'm doing something that's more have a social cause, then I just focus on that. It will be ideal.
Right.
Too late now. I already started, but
And are
yeah.
you speaking that from just like your focus as an artist, or are you saying that it would be nice if the platforms kind of had a focus? Because in my mind, like nothing separates one platform from the other, aside from the fact that one might have a bigger built-in audience.
Yeah. I do think from the artist's perspective, it matters more just because there's so many platforms to, to be on.
Right.
And as an artist, you probably have so many shiny ideas to go for it. And they might not be all cohesive in terms of the meaning of it or however you want to portray your artwork. So something that's more for pop culture could belong to one, and something that's more meaningful could belong to another.
Right. And for you personally, like how much would you say that you wrestle with that? Because I think you strike me as a guy that probably has tons of ideas. And sometimes you're like, I want to chase this, but this is kind of outside of this theme that I'm curating. Is that something that challenges you?
Yeah, for sure. Because I usually start with reference pictures. I use pure ref. I just dragged a bunch of stuff that I see on Pinterest or on whatever movie post I like, and I make a mood board. Essentially, that's what it is. And then I simplify it and make it my own idea. And a lot of it changes when I actually make it because sometimes your idea is just too big and you usually have to scale it down. And I don't think
Most
I
times
have.
for me.
Same here, because I really don't think I have the technical ability to, execute that mall. And this one project I've been working on is like it's been a month and a half, and that's the one. You know how Aru's collaborated with Six Buzz?
Yep.
Yeah, so I'm supposed to do the third drop, so that's the upcoming drop.
Oh,
And for that project I've worked on, oh man, it's just been a long time. And it just started too complicated and have to shrink it down to what I can handle, what my computer can handle, right? My GPU is so ass that
Okay,
with an
so
upgrade.
what does that deal look like with Six Buzz? Are they
Um,
guaranteeing you a percentage? Is it just a flat fee to create? Are you, what's the deal?
Um, so at first, that was my first time, collaborating with a bigger brand. So I'm like, okay, how is it gonna split? And it seemed like 50-50% is like ideal because usually if a company has 10K budget, the creator get what, 10%, 5% even,
You'd be lucky
so
if you got 10. 10, you're
ex-
laughing.
exactly. So that's why when we agreed on 50, that was huge. And it made it a little complicated because there's also resell. So every time you resell the artwork, there's certain um, percentage. I think it's 15% default in a lot of the platforms
Hmm.
if the owner sells the artwork. And another thing is, I tried to bring on another creator that I like. So she does custom shoes, and we're trying to integrate her design to my project. And when we do sell the NFT, the winner can get physical shoes as well. So her design.
That's awesome. I think I've seen that as well with the NBA Top Shot. I know that some of the players were, I think it was Terry Rozier who played for the Celtics. If somebody bought one of his NFTs or his moments, I'm not sure exactly what they're called on Top Shot. He was actually going to fly the fan out to a game. And I
Wow.
think he ended up giving them a pair of game worn sneakers. So it's just crazy to see kind of how that physical is blending with the crypto world.
Yeah, for sure. That's so cool. Cause I know I guess it's outside of like every artist's ability. If you're only making $200, it doesn't really make sense that you are, giving them a physical item that might
Yeah,
even cost more.
right.
But for something like that, it's definitely reasonable when you're talking about 10K, 20, even, in the 100K range.
Right. We you touched briefly on the research part with building mood boards and kind of pulling a bunch of references. What I have a couple questions. So, would you say most of that inspiration is coming from anime, or like what else? What else? We love asking this question about like
Yeah.
what inspired you early on, maybe in your childhood, or like what were you consuming or reading that has, in a roundabout way, inspired the work that you're doing now?
What's you guys' inspirations?
We have a bunch. Will's favorite is he'll tell everyone.
No, my favorite anime is Cowboy Bebop.
I wasn't going
Oh,
Cowboy Bebop. I was gonna say about the Call of Duty edits. You
Oh,
started,
I
yeah.
thought you were going. Yeah, so I started editing Call of Duty videos. That's like my big, like that's I don't know. I mean, it's not really my inspiration, but you know what I mean. I don't know.
Entry
It's where I
point.
something you
started.
like. So that means you're pretty like you're into effects and visual effects and stuff as well.
I was more, but then I kind of started going like video mode. Like I just was like
Mhm.
more of a shooter and an editor second. You know what I mean?
Right,
Whereas
right,
before
makes
I
sense.
started as an editor first, where you're always like, what's the coolest effect and like sit
Yeah.
back and record. But did you like dabble in editing COD videos as well?
No, I actually didn't, but I've watched a lot of them though. That the one oh, who is that guy who is really big in COD editing? His name is
Fi- Baker
Baker
Tuts, yeah.
Baker Tuts,
Baker
right. So
Tuts.
Sam Coder's using his transitions and all those Doom transitions and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
watch
Yeah,
his
that's
tutorial a
where I
lot.
first saw him. I was
Yeah,
like,
there
who's
we
this guy,
go.
Baker Tuts?
There we
Baker
go.
Tuts
There we go.
has probably influenced and touched like the most editors in the world
I
just
swear.
based off of like the past like when 20 from 2010 to 20 like 12 13 this guy was like the guy on YouTube, all the tutorials.
It's definitely people our age too, just because we like those games as well, right? So
Exactly. I mean, there is, and also like the whole Cinema 4D world, like everyone's kind of the last couple of years has been getting into it. Call of Duty videos have been doing Cinema 4D like cinematics where they create characters and like do stuff in 20 since 2011 2012.
oh wow.
And now it's getting like if you look up FaZe Mink, who was like
Yeah.
they're one of the best editors, this guy was
The
doing like
OGs.
3D design at such a high level for the time. It's crazy to see how that is now, you watch Gibson
More
Hazard now he's
relevant.
doing it's more relevant and it's even better than it was. And it's implemented not just with video game footage, but real life footage with the 3D stuff.
So who's really copying who?
Who knows? Honestly,
great
I've
question.
been saying this. I think the Call of Duty editing community and just Call of Duty in general, that like space has like influenced culture and art more than any other space in the last like 5 or 10 years. I mean, look at
That's a
what
good
FaZe
point.
Clan has done. It's crazy.
Very interesting. Because I wasn't even thinking about that until you mentioned it. And I do know an editor. He does it. I won't say full time, but he works with FaZe's social media projects as well. They do their merch lunch and everything.
Is it Wolf
And
Tech?
Wolf Tech, yeah.
Yeah,
Zeke has been doing
he's crazy.
this hybrid as well. So like, kind of like Gibson Hazard style, I guess,
Yeah,
but with his own spin for sure.
it's really cool. But before we like transition a bit, I did want to talk about this, and it's kind of for both of you. Like, I'm looking at NFTs and I'm scrolling through the websites as we're talking, and I'm like, a lot of them are GIFs. Like, there's some like images that are minted, but a lot of times I see it's like a looping GIF. And I'm like, how many of these people are buying it because they're thinking this is an investment, I'm going to resell it and make more money off it, versus actually having it and getting to like experience the art? Because we would think about real life art. You hang it on your wall, you put a statue on your desk, or not a statue, like a figurine on your desk, whatever it is. There's no way to observe this art besides opening the file that's on your computer. Like, where do you get to like appreciate the artwork? Because some of it is really beautiful, but there's no real way to appreciate it. So are people just buying it to sell, or are they buying it because they actually want art and they enjoy the art? That's where I'm getting confused. It's like, what? I don't get this space and why people even want to buy.
Which platform did you see all those gifts on?
I'm on Try Showtime. I'm just looking at these recommended guys. It's like Gerpel,
Mm.
Roger Kilimanjaro. Like, they're really cool gifts, but I'm like, where do I put that? How do I enjoy this?
In your crypto wallet.
But
You
where's the
pull it
crypto
up
wallet?
your MetaMask, I guess. So there's like collectibles where you can see it on your phone. But then that's also why a lot of these players are coming in where they're manufacturing the display. They're also finding digital solution where they can display those art. I don't know if you guys have heard of I think it's called I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's VEVE, and there's another app called Flow. So what they do is they built a virtual showroom. So whatever you collect, you can actually showcase it in a virtual room, in the virtual
I've
environment.
seen a couple of these. This is really interesting because with the 3D guys, the one thing that I always think, like, the art itself is awesome. But the other part that would be really easy for somebody who knows Cinema 4D, it's like you can build these kind of custom like, I think with guys, they're almost like your own virtual man cave, and whatever you're into, whatever you're inspired by, like, you can create these virtual spaces where you can kind of consume them. But I've seen a
That's a
couple
good
and they
point.
look unreal. Like, some have a really like Colosseum, like Rome kind of retro vibe. And others are like super sleek and super modern. So it can really go anyway, it's really interesting to see how that space is evolving.
Are you talking about people who are building their own virtual room, or
Yeah, people who are both building virtual rooms and selling those rooms as galleries for people who collect crypto art.
Mm. I actually never seen it. You gotta send me some.
Look up Somnium Space. This is an app or actually a game on the VR store, which they're looking to sell, or not looking to sell, but looking for people to join in. And what they do is that they host other people's NFT artwork in an art gallery, and you walk in as a person with VR goggles on. You walk in as a person, and you can
Oh,
walk through a 3D space observing the art as though it's an art show.
that sounds like Decentral Island. I guess
I'm,
it's a pretty similar
Whoa.
I'm sure
Yeah, there's probably
there's
similar ideas
a
out
bunch
there.
of ideas like this,
Yeah.
but my biggest problem is like that seems like something that's gonna be it's going to make a lot of sense with the way we live our lives in like 20 years when VR becomes like, I don't know, more accessible, cheaper, and just more immersive. But
Right.
my thing is like, if I'm going to observe my NFTs, why do I have to open up an app and then get to see my art? Like, what makes real life, and I sound like a hater right now. I'm just playing devil's advocate. If I have nice art in real life, I just place it in places and I get to see it, and you get those feelings when you look at art. It makes you
For
feel
sure.
a certain way. You think a certain way. That's what powerful art does to people. But you don't get that unless you look at it. And there's something about, I have a painting right here. There's like no
Something about the
barrier to observe
physical.
it. It's not about being
Something about it.
physical. It's just about being able to see it without having to open up an app and then like wait for it to load and then I'm looking at it. There has to be some sort of way where you can just digitally observe it with less friction. Because then I don't see why
Oh,
people should buy it.
right. So it's too
Besides an
much of a
investment.
hustle. Too much of a hustle to even view your own artwork. That's what's it getting at.
Yeah,
Too
that's
much
kind of.
fractions. Right.
It just seems like there's like, what's the point of owning it if you can't really observe it?
Right. I think that comes to a lot of the more consumer friendly display frames. And people are using even like aside from those display frame, people are using those wearables too. I don't know if it's type of watch or whatever that display your NFT art. No, something
Oh,
like that. There's just a lot of ideas out there, but they're not really consumer friendly. They're kind of pricey for like an average, artist. It just you can't really afford that and then give it to your collector. Especially with gas fee being like $400, $200. Like there's no, it's not really feasible right now.
And I think that's a great point. Just quickly, I think that's a great point. That one of the biggest things, and it's not specific to crypto art, this is kind of more broadly, but one of the biggest things holding back this entire space is that it's really right now, at least. And I want to preface this by saying, like, we are very much in the early stages of this, but one of the biggest limiting factors right now is that it's really tech first, and we're kind of building patchwork consumer solutions to make the experience better as we go. And it's one of the things that I know I'm into it just because I'm a curious guy and I'm kind of adjacent to the space. But a lot of my friends, like you say NFT, and they either think that it's a Ponzi scam or this world that exists outside of any of their interests. So it's going to be interesting to see how they kind of adapt those consumer solutions. But one thing on the displays, like the markups I'm seeing on some of these displays, like for a 50-inch, like it's essentially just like a TV. Because it's being labeled as crypto art, you're seeing like a 20 to 30% price markup in some of these things. But I just think
wait,
Yeah,
it's
hold up.
hilarious.
They're selling like glorified
They're selling
TVs.
TV screen. It's a TV screen. By any other name, it's a TV screen, but it's like 20 to 30% more expensive because it's being marketed
Oh,
as a crypto like art gallery thing.
I just realized I'm such a bozo. Like
They're
literally,
TV screens.
well, no, well, I've been trying to say like, what's the point of buying the art if you can't really display it or whatnot because it's digital? Dude, I just realized, remember those like things you would go to someone's house, they'd have a picture frame that was like an iPad almost, and like pictures would like scroll through.
Yeah, usually at grandma's house.
Yeah, it's
Grandma
always
would
at
have one of
Grammy's.
these.
You'd see like they're Costa Rica, Cabo, like it'd be
it's
going
the
like,
same thing.
Yeah.
and it's just the same thing, but it's just NFTs. You get to see the GIF repeat. Oh my
Yeah.
god, so
I don't know
simple.
why that didn't blow up though. I thought that was a cool solution for a lot of the digital display, but no one was using it. Like
No,
you probably don't even have one in your house. I don't.
no,
Like
no, no,
where
no.
did it go?
But that's what leads me to think. I think most people are buying NFTs not necessarily because they love the art and they like to look at it, but they're
Mhm.
like, this is a
The
play.
resale value.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna sell this.
See, I think it really depends on the platform you are looking at because if you are a um art enthusiast and you want to flip, you probably aren't gonna be looking at those platform like Rarible or OpenSea because most people would probably be focusing on Nifty or Super Rare, and they would only buy the top artists because they know for a fact that there's resale value. There's actually a ranking for artists out there who sold the most, and these are the people who are, flipping. They're buying these top artists' artwork because otherwise it's not safe. It's really not safe for you to go to OpenSea Foundation. Even a lot of the artwork, you probably aren't going to be flipping it.
Right.
Is there much dialogue on these platforms? Because I wonder if people are like messaging you as though it's like your Instagram, where like they can DM you like with they can like send you the NFT with a message talking to you about again to understand like who you are, what goes into what you do. Like, is there like that community side to it, or is it really just
There
a
is.
marketplace?
Um, they all started with the marketplace, but they're slowly, up improving themselves in terms of following certain artists. When they do a drop, you can get an email notification to commenting on their certain artworks. For Maker's Place, you can just do that. You can comment and like other artwork. That's also why all the NFTs, everyone who's in an NFT, they probably are somewhere on Twitter. So that's a bigger platform for people to connect with others.
I love that. I want to go back to that point that you brought up about I think one thing that I've noticed within the creator space for people who are making NFTs is that you have such a more precise measure of the value of what you create. But one thing that's kind of spawned from that is that a lot of creators are tying their sense of self-worth or their sense of how good they are at art or whatever their creative thing is with kind of the amount of money that they make on with what they're selling. Have you seen that at all? And like,
for sure.
and the follow-up is that, and this, I don't know if you're on the platform or not, but I've just seen this in the past couple of weeks. BitClout. I want to talk about BitClout just quickly. Like, beyond making NFTs, the crypto space is kind of pushing this forward to where if you want to invest in a creator, you like their art, or you think there is some financial upside to them, you can actually buy some of their coins. Like, have you been seeing this at all? And like, what are your thoughts on BitClout and kind of tying some value to creators on the blockchain?
I just think BitClout is a little sketchy. That's why I stay away from it.
Super sketchy. Super sketchy.
It's not. Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah, go ahead. I don't know too much about it. That's why
I don't know a whole lot, but like the reason why like the big serious cryptocurrencies are around is because there is a technology around it that people are investing in and hoping that, you know, will integrate itself in the real world. And each coin has their own unique way of transacting. And sorry?
Okay, right.
Do you say projects?
There's a project backing up the coins, right?
The coin. Whereas BitClout, it's like you're like investing in a creator.
It's like a measure of reputation almost.
Yeah, it seems there's a lot of that shit going on. But you were gonna say something?
Oh, I was just gonna go back to the valid, like how you are measuring yourself success based on how much you're selling for that. So I want to say that it's been the same way on Instagram. Every creator is making a post. If you don't do good on your engagement, you're like, oh man, my stuff is ass. Like that's just how it's always been, you know. But now it's even more dangerous because your personal projects actually has monetary values. You associate your self-worth not to this abstract likes and social validation, but it's more to a monetary validation. I think that's really dangerous. Like that's
a slippery slope.
It really is. That's also why it's like there's always Clubhouse talking about NFT mental health because it's
what the hell? That's a 2021 term right there. Holy shit!
Think about it this way. I definitely experienced it, especially at the start too. You are having 2 months of your time making an artwork that is so close to you, and you have emotional connection to it, and you toss it on one of the platforms, hoping it's going to sell, and no one buys it. That's like you putting a piece of your emotion, your experience, your heart to this void, and no one hears it. Like that's not a good feeling.
It's a really, I mean, yeah, when you put it that way, it just makes it feel like you're not worth it, you know, like you're not worth anything, right? But that's the problem. And Mose and I talk about this when we work together and we collaborate. It's like we both put ourselves into the work, but at the end of the day, no one's idea is right. It's the right idea is right. You know what I mean? So you kind of have to you have to like put yourself in the work, but once the work's done, take yourself out of it. And don't make it yourself. Like it's obviously your self actualization in the work, but you kind of have to detach. So I wonder, how do you do that? I don't know. You just have to be some monk, I guess, who's like so enlightened.
Meditate 7 times a day. You know what? Just meditate. You know what? Don't do anything else but meditate.
7 sessions of meditation a day. Oh man!
And don't forget about the juice cleanse either. No solid foods.
Just ginger and turmeric. That's it.
So essentially, what you're saying is you have to disassociate yourself from the work.
Once
from the
it's
point
out,
that you finish it. Once it's out, it's out. It doesn't have
and
to
you
do
say,
anything.
Yeah, you say that was me during the time that I created it, and I am constantly changing and moving forward. And you know, it's right. And also it's not me. It's just a part of me, right?
Right.
But I don't know. It's so easy. I mean, I feel like a lot of artists have talked about this, or I hear like comedians talk. It's like I put out a special,
Yeah,
and that's like pretty much me because I'm talking about my perspective on the world, and you just your perspective is going to change over time. It's just a part of you then,
for
and you
sure.
gotta let it go. It's just,
Mm.
yeah. I mean, easier said than done.
So if you think of yourself as a creative entrepreneur and you're building your personal brand, would you really build something for 2 months, spit it out, and then be like, okay, that's it, I'm done. My work is done here. Wouldn't you want to spend more time on the marketing side of it?
Absolutely. I
Of
think that we've
course,
covered this before at length. Like the classic mistake, and it's not specific to creators either. Like I see brands doing this all the time where you're going to spend 2 to 3 hours or longer, oftentimes longer, on production, and then spend what, like 5 minutes trying to market it or distribute. Like it
Do a
it just
hashtag
doesn't
copy
make
and paste.
sense.
Max. I think marketing is, okay, letting go of like detaching yourself from it emotionally and like detaching your personality from it is different than like putting in work to market it. You know what I
Mm,
mean? Like
that's a good point.
I'm not saying put it out there and then just leave it
Forget about
there.
it.
I'm saying like put it out there and not put yourself into it, but just do the necessary things to market. But maybe to do the necessary things to market, you have to treat it like it's you. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's. I think it depends on what you're marketing. If it's a personal project, then to some extent, there's gonna be emotions attached to it. But if
Always.
it's for a client, maybe not. Like it's different depending on the scenarios, I guess.
Well, that's one of the best things. I mean, one of the things I admire most about crypto artists and the big people and the small people is that I think it's so much harder to create for yourself than it is to create for a brand, because there is a level of disattachment. Is that a word? Unattachment? I don't know how to say it.
Detachment.
Detachment. There you go. When you're working with somebody else, and for the people, I think the example that comes to mind for me, and I'm rambling a little bit, is that for all the people that celebrated Beeple selling, I don't know what it was 69 or 70 something million worth of his artwork, a lot of people forget that that guy was grinding for like 13 years doing crypto art before it was called crypto art. It's just basically concept art, every single day for 13 years. And then the payoff finally came when the technology and the infrastructure kind of caught up to what he was doing. But I guess the bigger point was that, like, it's like I think right now I would not be able to do a personal work shipping every day for 13 years. The consistency and the level of perseverance and mental toughness that you need to be able to do that is just beyond what I think the average person can sustain. So that's why I admire the crypto people, especially like even you, like getting 9 crypto works out there and like finishing those projects. Like I think personal projects are one of the most challenging things because there's no deadline and there's no kind of like hard cutoff that says you need to get this done by this Friday. And
For
a
sure.
lot of the times I talk to creative people and they're like, well, I was going to do my website or I was going to launch this new thing, but I
It
just
just
kept
never
pushing it
happened.
back. And then eventually it just didn't happen.
Yeah, I think procrastination plays a big part in my, process as well. But it's mostly the fact that I realize how big of the challenge it is to make the things I want to make. And that's why I'm procrastinating.
Yeah. But how
Makes no
much of
sense.
it as well would you say is that like little voice inside your head that everyone convinces themselves that as they kind of do this longer and as they get better, that voice will go away? Spoiler alert, it doesn't. And that little voice says like, if you could only just improve it another like 15%, if I spend 30 more minutes on this, I will take it to a level where I'm comfortable. And I find personally, like I've struggled with this, it never feels like you reached that point on any project. There's
You're a
always like that.
perfectionist.
Yeah, exactly.
You want everything to just go perfect, and it's 100%. But there's always this 1% you're like, should I spend more time
I
doing
could
it?
have changed this little thing. The lighting's off.
That's why
Now I
you got
have
on
to
the next
re-render this
project.
project for. Okay, this is my last question because we're almost gonna wrap up here.
Yeah.
So on average, you don't need a perfect number, but you're just your best guess. Like what the part, and I say this because the thing that keeps me away from Cinema 4D and just 3D art in general is that there's that disconnect between what it looks like when you're actually making it and then rendering it. And these renders will take like 15 to 40 hours sometimes. So on average, here's the question. I always do this. The question is like, how long do these crypto artwork, concept artworks, how long do they take to render?
Oh man. The recent projects are they're all super technical, and each frame would take sometimes 20 minutes. Like the latest post that I got, it was 20 minutes per frame, and there was just no way I could get it done on my machine. So I
Yeah.
just sent it on drop and render, and yeah, that was
Okay, so
the
two
render farm.
follow-up questions. Two follow-up questions. You say 20 minutes per frame, and there's what, like 1,000, 3,000? How many frames are there in the piece?
Oh, that project, it was 300 frames, and then I slowed it
Jeez.
down, I think, something like that. Yeah, I twixtered a lot of it so that it seems
And
more.
Twixter just slows down your
Love
computer
that.
like a motherfucker too.
Yeah, but yeah,
Love that.
What
but
the hell
I
is drop and render? Sorry.
Okay, so
drop
this
and
is my
render-
follow-up. Yeah.
that's
Tell us about drop and render.
drop and render is like a cloud solutions to rendering. It's a render farm, right? So you don't have to use your own GPU to render. All you need to do is to upload your project, and then you go hands off. You can work on other projects. You can play games you want. Like, just free up your computing space.
It's free?
No,
that is not.
Okay.
It's a business.
There are 3 tiers that you can choose. Obviously, each tier is like different pricing with different speed, and they spit out pictures so fast. It's crazy. I don't. Diamond is the fastest, I think it's called. Yeah. So
How much does it cost to render depending on project?
Depending on project, for sure. I mean, it just varies by a lot. But before I was sponsored by Drop and Render, I would pay.
Not a big deal.
I would pay 200 US, I guess, for one render. Like, that would be personal projects too.
And this would be for like the high GPU usage projects.
That's like medium tier, even.
That's medium?
I think.
Holy
so.
shit.
Gets more expensive.
Again, it depends on your scene. If you don't know how to optimize your scene, it's obviously going to take longer. And back in the days, I don't know how to optimize my scene. I just VDVs stacked on VDVs, like just too much stuff. So that's why.
Okay, last question then. We definitely want to let you go. You've been on for a while. But so let's just put myself in a beginner's shoes. I want to start doing 3D animation with like Cinema 4D. Where does a person start? Do you start, drawing a little bit, collecting mood boards, then watch some tutorials, or is there a person you got to check out on YouTube? Like, can you quickly walk through just what that starting process looks like?
I think the starting process is knowing the software and the plugins that you want to use. So if you want to learn Octane, you just focus on Octane Render. You don't look at other tutorials. And it's always the best, I find, to start with something that you're really passionate about and you want to recreate or making. So, because if you start from that, your problems are just gonna figure out itself. You're just gonna find the right tutorial for it. And if you don't know what term to search, you can just ask other people. And I think it's the starting part that's hard. That's why you should just start. Don't make your mood board. Don't be browsing around tutorials. There's just too many of them. Just start. It's essentially what it is.
I love that. I have one final one, then we'll let you go. I feel like we've been saying this for 5 minutes, but
No
would
worries.
would you recommend, if somebody was able to take that 2-month or 3-month boot camp to learn a new piece of software, whether it's 3D or whatever?
Yeah, depends on the boot camp again. If it's the one that I went to, I don't recommend it.
Oh,
Because-
shots fired.
Because it's I guess it's client focused in terms. How do I word it? I think it kills your interest if you don't start off with your personal projects. If you go in and they're like, this is the product you have to make, you have to model and then finish the render for this week's homework, you're not going to be enthusiastic about it.
Right.
Right. So I think it doesn't matter what program you're taking, it has to be at least aligned with the style you're going for in 3D.
That's a great closing note, because I think the most important thing is finding what you like to do and then try and recreate that, because what the program does so well is it allows you to recreate anything that your mind can and what your technical skills can do, right? So I love that. So you'll see. I'm gonna try and do a Cowboy Bebop animation. Do something.
Let's go.
No,
Let's
no, it's
crazy.
gonna be a Call of Duty montage.
No, it's gonna be
Trick
Counter Strike.
shots on Rust.
Just
Either
CS:GO.
way, I'll turn your post notification on. I'll be watching.
Oh god. You know what? Honestly, I want to
That's a
challenge
lot of
myself
pressure.
to
That's a lot
Sim
of-
4D. I remember trying it when I was like 16, and this was like
Being
2013
so intimidated.
or 12, and I was like, I knew After Effects, and I was like, what the fuck is this? And I was trying to learn, and I just kind of gave up and only did like 3D text or 2D text and shit. Anyways, Max, man, thank you so much for coming on.
This is legendary.
This was
for
a
having me
really
on.
good combo.
That was fun. That was super fun.
Yeah, it's not bad. So, do you want to just, plug anything, what you do, just to the people who listen, and then I can close this out?
Oh, you mean me?
Yeah, if you want to plug anything, like your Instagram, your crypto
Oh yeah,
platform.
sorry. Not really used to doing this. That's why. But yeah, you can follow me on social, Instagram. On Instagram as Max MMH. Most of my platform is Max MMH. If you want to buy my NFT artwork, that's the same handle. So yeah.
Yeah, go follow
Check it out.
at Max MMH. All right, thanks for listening, everyone. Make sure to follow us on all platforms. This is going on YouTube as well, so you get to see everyone's pretty face. At RnR Podcast, follow us everywhere. See you later.
Bye.
Thank God Will didn't go to Western.
Good choice. See you guys.